in order for us to win back the nation to conservatism, capitalism, constitutionalism, individual sovereignty, and Christianity, in order for us to win all that back, we're going to have to invest our efforts at winning urban America. And like earlier, we spoke with Jeff Jones from the Dearborn area of Michigan Congressional District 12. There is a heroine of the left in its narrative that must be removed from office. None other than Maxine Waters, who many years ago prescribed the best thing that could happen for the energy community was to actually have the federal government take over the energy corporations, Exxon and so on. Yeah, she was proclaiming socialism and nationalism before there was ever a Black Lives Matter. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is a young man who is fighting the good fight in the wonderful District 43, Congressional District 43, out of California, IA, and some people spell it with a K now since it's so communistic. None other than Joe Collins, who's running for Congress, U.S. House Congressional District 43 out of California. You can find him at Collins for Congress 43. We have him on the line with us this particular hour. And we want to introduce to some and present to others a man who has served this country in the U.S. Navy. Whoop, there you go. And as well is preparing to serve our country out of California in the U.S. House of Representatives. There are a number of races around the country that many people don't know could be made closer if the interest and investment were made. Joe Collins, thank you so much for being with us tonight. It's a tremendous honor and pleasure to have you on the air.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Listen, Joe, you have served our country. I mean, in the
Yeah.
U.S. Navy. I mean, what more do you need to do? You've done everything you're supposed to do. You've done things that other politicians wouldn't even think of doing before 4 a.m. What say you, sir? Why are you in this fight?
Well, I'm still young. I served 13 and a half years in the U.S. Navy. I actually got out the military to get into politics. One of the biggest things is being from South Central Los Angeles, I understand that we as young people have to step up and start taking leadership roles in our community. For me, it's a really easy responsibility. I want to go back and rebuild South Central Los Angeles. It's been underrepresented and underserved for a very long time. And so, it's about time that we had leadership that actually cares about the people.
Now, you say you're from South Central. Maxine Waters lives exactly in the same neighborhood, right? Doesn't she live with you in that area?
No, Maxine Waters lives in Hancock Park, a real nice suburb of Los Angeles County. She has one of the largest houses in Los Angeles County. She lives around the corner from the mayor, so no, she doesn't live in our district. I think if she did, we have more prosperity in the community.
Now, you believe that there is a two-edged sword to all of the prosperity that could come to South Central. One is economic, the other is political. When we speak to the idea of politics, I want to ask you, with the largesse of African Americans and Hispanics in that area, there seems to be a depressed interest in terms of voting. Why do you think that is?
I think the reason why is because Maxine has held that seat for a very long time on the like a 15-term incumbent. It's a very long time, and so people haven't had a candidate who was strong enough to press the issue like I've been able to do, as well as have a plan to rebuild our community. A lot of people they want to preach, President Trump, or they want to preach conservatism, or they want to preach Republican, but they never want to preach to the issues that matter to the people, and that is simple: economic development, jobs, quality jobs, good education, and increasing the value of the lives of the people who live there. We've never had anyone speak to those issues, and people just got turned off of politics. They figure, what's the point of voting if Maxine's going to win anyway? She's been here for a long time, and every other candidate that we've had, there was either a clown or they wasn't strong enough to press the issue.
Now, Maxine would say that you don't understand. My husband owns a bank, and quite frankly, he makes loans out to people in South Central. Isn't that enough?
No, Maxine Waters' husband's bank is a complete failure. They rip so many black people off when it comes to home loans, mortgages. And you got to remember, that bank was failing until Maxine Waters stepped in and got the Treasury to use taxpayers' money to bail that bank out. Her husband's bank is an absolute failure. I would never bank with her husband's bank. I wouldn't do anything that had to do with Maxine Waters.
Exactly. Now, I want to go through some of those particular issues. One is the issue of economic development, opportunity zones. What is Maxine Waters doing with opportunity zones in South Central Congressional District 43? What would you do with opportunity zones in South Central 43?
Well, we know Maxine Waters has done absolutely nothing with opportunity zones, and the reason why is because she doesn't like the president. They allowed the city council members and different state legislators to utilize opportunity zones and trade the opportunity zones through developers to figure out who's going to pay that person the most money in order to develop. Now, Mayor Butts over in Inglewood has done an exceptional job with rebuilding and revitalizing the city of Inglewood through opportunity zones and economic development. And, Maxine Waters has tried to take credit for that as well, but we know Maxine Waters has done nothing. She will not do anything with opportunities or economic development. If she wanted to get economic development in a black community, she'd have done it 29 years ago.
Now, there are those who have turned to Joe Biden for the black agenda. They believe, and I believe there is a rapper who has come out with an agenda, and rapper and actor who's come out with an agenda to be endorsed by Joe Biden to reach black America. And a lot of it is the same old stuff that we've heard from the left. Investment, which means taxation, and spending on government programs. And then Donald Trump comes out with a $500 billion black agenda recently, which capitalizes small businesses and entrepreneurs. Which one of those do you believe that the people of South Central will be more receptive to?
I have no idea right now. The media has a really hand in making the people in inner cities hate the president for some reason. They have everyone thinking that the president is racist. And from my recollection, it was Joe Biden and the rest of the Democrats who has created the policies that increased systemic racism. It increased the depression in black communities. It increased the incarceration of blacks and Latinos in our cities. But when you look at somebody who actually has a real agenda, I mean, like a laid out planned agenda, you have to go with President Trump. I mean, we had a black president who had no black agenda, and people thought he was God. They thought he walked on water because he was a smooth talker. But when you look at the history of the Democratic Party, even from now all the way since, Jim Crow or since the slavery days, the Democratic Party has done absolutely nothing to improve the lives of black people in inner cities. And, it's just like in Rome. They tell us all the good stuff that we want to hear, but they turn around and stab us in the back, and the only thing we're left saying is "you too, Democrats."
Yeah.
Et tu, and so that's what we've been getting from these guys for a very long time, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm sick of it.
Now, you are a young man, which is quite remarkable, and many people would ask, what experience do you have that would make you a better congressman than Maxine Waters? If you could speak to that.
Well, I would say this. I didn't need a lot of experience to join the military. I didn't need a lot of experience to go to Iraq and,
Yep.
put my life on the line every single day for this country. But the leadership experience that I've gained from the military and the ability to have an action plan to move not just a military force forward, but to actually move an entire organization forward is the same leadership experience that I will bring back to the United States and bring back to my community. And if I had to compare my experience against Maxine Waters' experience, I would rather have the experience of someone who is anxious to work and learn than the experience of someone who has failed our community for a total of 44 years altogether. I mean, Maxine Waters has been one of the biggest liars in America. I mean,
Yeah.
she's been silenced a couple of years ago by Congress for opening up her mouth too much. That's how you know she lies. She opens up her mouth. She over promises and under delivers on a large scale.
I want to ask you, can you point to anything or any law? Because I've done the research, I haven't seen it, but I'm not there in California 43. Is there anything that she has passed that has made an equitable and appreciable impact on the people of South Central LA?
No, absolutely not. And she gets on the radio and she claims she's done all these things, but the fact of the matter is, she's co-authored or helped sponsor a bill, but when it comes to actually writing the bill herself, she hasn't done it. Maxine Waters is lazy. She's a lazy congressperson, and you can even tell in her campaign right now, she's following my campaign everywhere that we go and trying to do everything that I'm doing, but she doesn't have enough stamina to even compete. So no, Maxine Waters has never done anything. She has never passed any bills, written any laws that will benefit anyone except for herself.
Now, and that's a very key point because she did vote for the bailout bill, which gave her husband the dollars needed to save One United. So people need to know that historically. Your comment to that.
Yeah, yeah, but on the same token, she only voted for that bill, and they weren't even going to give her husband the money that that bank needed in order for the bailout. She had to actually go to the Treasury office and facilitate or broker a deal for them to get that money. They were never going to help that bank because that bank is a failure. That bank has more debt than any bank in the United States, and it constantly rip people off with the high interest rates, with the ridiculous mortgage loans and everything. I mean, I would never, I would have never gave that bank any type of money.
Exactly. Joe Collins with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, running in California Congressional District 43. People around the country are lit with your campaign.
Yeah.
You are a fervor for those who are in the conservative movement, and just the urban renewal environment. I want to ask you some questions regarding economics here. First and foremost, South Central LA has areas of prominence. It's near the university. And it has other areas which are lackluster and have been so for the past 44 years. What is it that you would do differently than Maxine Waters to make certain that there were jobs and entrepreneurialism and economic reform in these particular areas?
Well, I'll tell you this. The first thing I would do is we have to attack the state of California to lower the cost of living. Now, what I mean by that is California has so much red tape when it comes to development. They tax us for everything. So someone has to be brave enough to go after the state of California, sue them, sue them, sue them until they remove the red tape. That comes with development that increases the cost of living, to remove the amount of taxes that we have to pay and make it feasible for people to actually live in California. Another thing that I would do is I would absolutely utilize opportunity zones that is as an incentive to bring quality businesses back to South Los Angeles. And one thing that's most important and no one ever talks about is financial literacy. We have to get financial literacy back into our communities when it comes to using different type of financial products to build wealth, getting the information needed for business owners to be able to utilize different programs when it comes to government contracting or state funding or grants to improve and rebuild their businesses. I mean, financial literacy is an absolute must. And another thing that we have to do is we have to improve our education system because we have a 77% high school graduation rate. We have a 22% college graduation rate. Now, these kids that are not graduated from high school and these kids that are going to college and not graduated from college, we have to think, what are they doing? Because we have no quality jobs here. So they're either moving out of the state, they're either getting involved in gangs or getting involved in a life of crime, or they're getting on welfare and they're adding to the debt that we have in our communities. And so in our state, I'm sorry, as well as
Yeah.
our country. And so we have to be able to improve our education system, get trades, get STEM get certifications back into our schools at the high school level and teach our kids how to be self-sufficient, how to build businesses, and how to work different trade jobs without having to have a degree.
I want to ask you here, would you work with Betsy DeVos to make certain that the appropriations bill for the Department of Education in the year that you go to the House of Representatives would include financial literacy education across the board throughout the U.S.?
Yes, absolutely, and I'll tell you just like I tell everybody else in the community. For me, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. I will work with whoever I have to in order to bring value and opportunities back to my community. So, absolutely, absolutely.
Now, my executive producer has made a note in the chat roll. She basically stated that the RESPA violations by the bank should be investigated. Will you call upon Ben Carson to investigate Maxine Waters' bank for mortgage fraud and also the U.S. Treasury for the very same reason?
Yeah, I'll initiate that myself. And we'll also look into the banking scams that she has for her own house out in Hancock Park. I think she has about 17, 15 to 17 loans that has been taken out on her house that are not even shown on the books right now. So absolutely, it's a lot of fraud when you talk about the quote unquote Auntie Maxine.
Election integrity is a huge issue in America right now. And I want to show you and the American people that these mailers have gone out across the District of Columbia. And virtually all you have to do is slide your finger through, fill out the ballot, and send it in. You don't have to be the person. Anybody could do it. Do you believe that Maxine Waters is protecting the election integrity of those who vote in California's Congressional District 43?
Absolutely not. I don't think Maxine protects anything. I don't even think Maxine knows anything about election integrity. I think that, because of her age, and I can tell by the way she's moving, she doesn't even know how to campaign. But I wouldn't trust Maxine Waters to protect the integrity of our election system, just like I wouldn't trust Maxine Waters to go get me a bottle of water.
I agree with you, and please don't drink behind her whatsoever. Joe Collins with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Immigration is a huge issue, whether it's Maine or California or Florida or Alaska. Immigration is an issue. Even in Hawaii, immigration is an issue. Got to ask you here, has Maxine Waters supported the immigration enforcement in California 43? What would you do differently, or would you do it the same way?
I don't think that Maxine has supported any type of immigration policies. She normally votes with the rest of the Democrats. So if the rest of the Democrats says put the kids in cages, guess what? That's what she's going to vote for. And I think that her record shows it. One thing that I would do is the first thing that I would do is when it comes to DACA was a broken program. And so we have to ensure that those people who were promised citizenships or green cards through the DACA program absolutely gets that. Another thing that we need more immigration attorneys and more immigration judges so they can process the amount of cases that we have. But we have to get tighter on border security, border safety, whenever it comes to immigration. And a lot of people think that immigration is Latin Americans, and it's not. You have a lot of people from Asia. You have a lot of people from Africa. You got a lot of people from Europe just sitting at the southern border right now, and they're trying to cross the border in different avenues. And human trafficking is a real issue when it comes to immigration as well. So we have to get tighter on border security. We have to get tighter on border safety. But in retrospect, we also need those judges and attorneys to be able to process the amount of cases. Immigration is not bad for the United States economy. Illegal immigration is what's terrible for us.
When you speak about illegal immigration, California, with a K, is allowing individuals, these certain areas, to vote who are not legal in this particular country. Do you believe that is a fair use of the immigration process? And what could you do at the federal level that could stop such processes at the state level.
Yeah, California has been a mess when it comes to illegal immigration on a regular basis. I mean, they allow people who are immigrants illegally to hold office positions in different counties. I mean, we're a sanctuary state, which is awful as well. And so
Hmm.
we have to enforce the immigration policies that we have here in the United States. And I think the biggest issue that I have is one, the illegal immigrants will work for less price than people who are here legal or people who deserve to be here. And so that causes a lot of companies to hire illegal immigrants to pay them under the table and fire people who are legitimately trying to create a lifestyle and create an avenue to support their families. Housing is another issue. They give illegal immigrants housing. They use our tax dollars to fund illegal programs, especially here in California. If you're an
Hmm.
illegal immigrant, you get health care, you get a stimulus check for being illegal. It almost like you're incentivizing people coming into our country, breaking our laws while enforcing laws on people who are trying to be legitimate citizens and follow the rules. And so I would absolutely clamp down on this sanctuary state. We'll get rid of that together. We'll enforce the policies that we have. And unfortunately, we do have a lot of people who are illegal immigrants in our states. And so we have to weed out the ones who have been productive members of our societies and create some type of pathway for them to continue, but also contribute to our society. And we have to remove the ones who fail to adhere to the laws of the United States and the laws of the state of California.
I'm going to tell you that this is a brilliant young man because he just read through a lawyer's type question when it came to the idea of illegal migration to this country. And knowing that the 10th Amendment prevents the federal government from interfering with what a state does, except in the area of sanctuary law and the enforcement against a sanctuary law requires us to remove federal funding from a state when they submit themselves accordingly to such statutes. This is a brilliant young man, ladies and gentlemen. You won't find this brilliance in Maxine Waters, and forgive me for giving you the accolade. I'm supposed to do that afterwards or whatever, but let me ask you this particular question regarding police brutality. You know that all white police officers get up early in the morning and they've been planning to beat up on black people and Hispanics, and they're racist, and all the police are bad. What say you, sir, when it comes to the police, South Central LA, and including that, Antifa and Black Lives Matter?
Oh Lord, it's such a travesty what they're doing to black communities, and that was a lot of sarcasm right there. I believe look, police brutality is real. I mean, we can't ignore it, but the occurrences of police brutality happens a lot less than what people think it does. I think the occurrence of crime in our community from our community happens more than occurrences of police brutality. And I wish that people would start to understand these things. I mean, we went to Minneapolis. I did protest against police brutality on black communities. But the difference between me and a lot of other people who protest against police brutality is when I protest, just like Dr. Martin Luther King, I have something that I'm going to bring to the table. We have legislation that we're going to pass. We have legislation that we want to get removed. We have certain things that we want to work for in order to make our communities better. My team and I, we were kind of responsible for the other three cops getting arrested, who stood by while George Floyd was murdered. And we were responsible for allowing the other officer to get his charges increased to what they actually should have been. But on another note, we understand that all cops are not bad. The issue that we have right now is you see a lot of politicians, i.e. like my opponent, who use the police as a punching bag to kind of make up or use them to hide the fact that they've been so terrible at creating policies, right? And so we wail on sorry politicians. We bring this to the attention of people who live in our communities. We had Antifa, we had a few Black Lives Matter people and agitators try and come into the South LA area. The protests were fine, but at night 10, they started to get violent, throwing bottles and, try to throw those mortars and fireworks at the
Yeah.
cops. We shut it down. We supported the law enforcement using aggressive force to remove these people, not violent, but aggressive force to remove these people, rubber bullets and tear gas, because we understand what happens when these people come and they destroy an already impoverished community, just like the 90s riots. They always promise they're going to rebuild it, but they don't. If they do rebuild it, they rebuild it without the black people in mind. And so that's where the gentrification comes. You got a lot of poor black people who can't afford to live through the rebuilding process. So we shut it down. But even when we got back, we've been able to work with the mayor, and we said, you know what, this is what we need. We need more resources back to the black communities, but we also need to start looking into the records of a lot of cops that we have on the force, and start to see which cops are terrible cops. And we have to be able to remove those cops from the force. We have to be able to hire new cops, real good quality cops. And we've been successful with that. We've had over 55 cops indicted so far. We had $150 million put back into the communities for the faith leaders and the different community organizations to be able to utilize. But this is coming to the table with something. And we work with the sheriff's department when it comes to oversight of different cops. Whenever you have a police on civilian death or shooting, or when they beat you up or something like that. And we've
Yes.
been able to work diligently with the community as well as with the law enforcement on these issues. And the community doesn't understand that sometimes you have to work with the law enforcement in order to work towards the best interest of the community, because they're working, like I said, on the laws that was created that they use to target people, i.e. the 94 crime bill, three strikes law, which was incorporated by the Democrats. And so in order to curb the amount of violence that we get in our community when it comes to police brutality on black people, somebody has to stand in the gap and be the orchestrator of the laws and reform, but also be the orchestrator in keeping our communities calm.
When it comes to the whole idea of black men being arrested, Joe Biden called black men predators. Kamala
Yeah.
Harris kept individuals who were innocent in prison beyond the term that they were supposed to. It has been said that at least 15% of black men this time around or more will be voting for Donald Trump because of prison reform, crime reform. And so I want to ask you in closing, we're going to try to get you back before the election because we want people to support your campaign and make certain that you win against Maxine. But in query to you, are black men supportive of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, or are they supportive of Donald Trump and Mike Pence when it comes to the issue of prison and crime reform?
I would have to say, people who actually study, or people who are knowledgeable about what this president is doing, would absolutely support him. It kind of disgusts me to hear a black man say that they're going to support Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, especially if they have a criminal record. And the reason why is because we all know that the only reason why the majority of people are incarcerated is because of this crime bill, which incentivizes the mass incarceration of blacks and Latinos. And so I have to educate people, and I would encourage others to educate people to look into this crime bill. And I read it. I think I'm
Yeah.
on page 128 out of 330 something pages of this crime bill, and it's actually disgusting. But I would also encourage Republicans, you have to take it easy on black men with criminal records who are trying to do better with their lives and who are trying to come over to the Republican Party. And the reason why is because black people are the most loyal people that you can get. But we don't want to be victimized or criminalized just for having a criminal past, knowing that the reason why we have it is because of people like Joe Biden, and we have a president who is trying to correct the wrongs that this man has done to us.
Are black people considerate of the fact that Joe Biden earlier this week made this statement? I stock shelves. Forgive me. With Michelle Obama, it's a little meme there, but the bottom line that he was able to hide in his basement from COVID-19 because black women stock shelves. Do you believe that he is racist? Do you believe that Donald Trump is racist?
Joe Biden's been a racist for a very long time, and I don't think a couple of years is going to change a person's prejudice. You can look at Joe Biden when he speaks, the racism comes out every time he opens his mouth. The only difference is because he has the mental deterioration, he doesn't recognize the racism that comes out in his mouth. And a lot of people think that just because he ran with President Obama, that he's no longer racist, which couldn't be the furthest from the truth. Do I think our president is racist? Absolutely not. Every single black person in America wanted to be like the president before Hillary Clinton started calling him racist, and the media pushed this narrative. And so I don't think that our president is racist. I haven't seen it myself, but I absolutely think and know that Joe Biden is a racist, and the policies that he's been pushing for the last 50 years has proved it.
Yeah, when you put millions of people behind bars and call them predators, I kind of think racism drips from the blood stains that he wears. I want to ask you, Joe, how can people best support you right now? You know that there's a target on you from the left. They don't like you. They've called you every name in the book but a child of God. And the left is saying there's no way that you're going to win. And black people, you're not really black if you vote for Joe Collins. And let me just ask, are you a black man? I don't know. You're a black man? I
Last time I checked, I look in the mirror and I look at my children, they look pretty black to me.
So what can people do to help you win against Maxine Waters across the country?
Well, one thing that you can do is you can pray for us and you pray for our campaign. Continue to volunteer, continue to donate. JoeCollinsForCongress.com. Click the donate and the volunteer. Please do that. Hey, let me tell you a secret real quick before we go.
Yes.
We have on my team, we have Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians, Constitutionalists, Freedom and Peace, Green Party members. We have everybody on my team working to beat Maxine Waters. And so if the left hates me, they must hate Maxine a little more than they hate me, because they have called me everything other than a child of God, but we're still whipping her up and down the 43rd district.
There you go. There you go. Our prayers are with you. We pray that you'll also come back before the election. We only got 3 more weeks, but we want you back on. We want people to know you. We want people to support you. You're okay if they don't give you $250,000, right? If they give you, if they give you $5, $10, $20, $100 here or there, you're okay with that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The reason why is because the majority of the money that we gained from our campaign, we gave it back to the community through the food drives. We gave away almost 200,000 pounds of food, our back to school drives. We do job fairs and hiring fairs. So the money that we give it right back to the community, which is why we're winning and people love us.
Joe Collins. And you can easily tell why Maxine Waters is just fitting mad at this young man. He is beating her left and right in South Central LA. Yeah. We look forward to you coming back to our program. God bless you, sir, and God bless your campaign.
All right, God bless you too. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the race is real, and we can win the races around the world. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk with you about what real racism is, ladies and gentlemen. And real racism is Joe Biden and Michelle Obama. I said it, and I'm not ashamed to tell you that. We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, with more of the best at Urban Conservative Talk right after these messages.